It is not a stepping stone to Hollywood. We don't have to hide our work behind a beautifully graded film behind a Vimeo protected password. No one cares. Really, no one cares. And no one's going to see it if you put it behind a Vimeo protected password. So stop doing that. Use film to say something. So what would you say, based on that conversation that we had, what is your definition of independent cinema and what would you like to see happen?
Well, the problem is that nowadays, even the independent or smaller productions, I bring them scripts that are what the kind of movies I've made and the kind of movies I like to watch. They tell me, why don't you try to turn this into like a 90s thriller, sexy thriller, like Basic Instinct? Because maybe there's a movie out and it's the flavor of the month to do this kind of movie. Or why? Oh, adolescence is out and everybody loves it. Make a movie about adolescence. But I'm like, I'm more like Kids by Larry Clark. You know, if I have to talk about adolescence, what is this shit? So that's the problem, and the problem is that they don't give you money to do this extreme movie. So you, in order to do cinema nowadays. It's gonna, I think, it's like try to find some independent money, some investors. Back in the day, the producers were inspired people, artistic people that thought, you know, had a bridge between art and commerce, and they believed in artists like I don't know, like before the royalties were giving money to artists. They were supporting artists, and then producers, filmmakers, like I don't know, Fellini would have never existed if he didn't have
Right.
producers behind him. But nowadays they would never exist.
I think that's an important point, though. Fellini would never have existed, but also so many other filmmakers after Fellini wouldn't have existed because they were inspired by these people. And I think that also the studio execs were inspired by them because these people all came from grassroots up the ranks. I think what's happened for me is we've lost the memory. It's a little like in many cultures when you lose the memory of a war or a tragedy or a moment in your history as a country, what perhaps damaged you, you run the risk of repeating it. And I think much like Trump's tariff announcement or potential announcement, I think if we only look back to 1947 and when we applied the Dalton tax, which is a similar tax on America, it destroyed cinema for America and for the UK. It had a huge impact, and I don't think we really recovered until the mid-80s, by which point people thought, shit, I'm not going to do that again. And you saw a burst and insurgence in the 70s and so on of independent cinema in the 60s that helped it get back to that. So I think that is coming, and we know it's coming because even Hollywood's on its knees and Disney's on its knees and everything. People aren't producing new work. When you look back to the founding fathers, even Julian Temple of the UK, he didn't ask for permission and he didn't need money. He had a vision, he had a message so strong, like a true artist, he couldn't hold it in. He rallied around with passion and got friends and begged favors and made movies that changed culture. And then commerce follows, it will. And then you build entire industries from that. But at the moment, we're just recycling. That's my thought.
Yes, but there's also another problem. People don't go to the movies anymore. People are sitting in their home. They're not asking questions. They're looking at shit where they tell them everything is spelled out. Why something is happening. They repeat it 100 times, so they make sure that you are completely hypnotized by your phone. You can watch this movie and watch your phone at the same time. This is the kind of movies that are being made. People are lobotomized and they don't get time to go to the cinema. So maybe to think like, I'm thinking like the movies, the old movies I can only find if I pirate them on the computer. You cannot find movies like on the platforms, you cannot find the DVDs. So thinking that maybe a new way, like a really renegade way, would be to shoot a movie with no money, pulling favors left and right, to do a really extreme movie. That's what I want to do, to shoot it, you know, with black magic cameras. They look amazing, and shoot with all non-actors or actors that do it for free. And then put it out like on this pirate websites for free.
Yeah, well, I think that's the kind of narrative of
I don't
this.
want it seems like nowadays the film theater, and believe me, I would love to believe in it. I grew up with it. I would go every day to the movies, but it's kind of finished. It's a rite of passage that they give to the filmmaker, so they feel content. But 1 week later, the movie is on the platform, and it seems like the church. It's something that is obsolete. There's only old ladies in the churches and in the movie
Are you the old
theaters.
lady in the church of cinema? Well, I think that's it. But I think we have an opportunity to have a voice, and that's the idea of cinema. That's we can have stories and they have themes, but more importantly, cinema is meant to have a voice, and filmmakers are meant to have a voice. And I think for me, that is slightly missing. And we've made a movie recently on Eddie Cochran and Goldfinch, and we interviewed Linda Perry, and she said something very similar about the music world, and we've lost it in that too. So it's not just in cinema. It seems to be across the board, and I wonder why. And there is something culturally going on now. Trust me, and I'm sure you'll all agree, it will not be the first time in human history since we climbed out of the caves and wanted to tell stories. All of a sudden, we're not going to tell stories anymore. It's still going to happen. It's not just going to shut down because the last 20 years economy has changed things. And it will come back. How do you see it coming back? What are you going to do?
The problem is capitalism. Capitalism kills fantasy and the money. That's what's killing us. I was walking down the street, Oxford Street last night. I was looking at all these shops and all these lights and all the commercials. They were aiming, to hypnotize the children. All these little children playing adults and little 11-year-old being sexy and like, buy me. And the only way is to wake up. People say, follow your dreams. I think that's bullshit. It's more like, when the fuck are you gonna wake up? That's more interesting to me nowadays. When are we gonna wake up, and see what remains far away from these lights that lure us in to buy more. We have to stop buying and start creating.
That's almost an identical answer to what Linda Perry said, in the sense that she said, when are we going to wake up, when are things going to change? And she said, when it hits rock bottom. But she does think it's all coming back, and it will. And we've seen it partly historically. Perhaps right now we've gone slightly deeper than we did before the 60s and after the repression of a war, a global war. There hasn't been that as such now, and I think we are due for a resurgence, and I do think it's coming back. And I think the irony is, for the first time, we're all able to do it. We've all got the access to a 4K camera in our pocket. Now, it's almost like we thought, well, we've got this, and now I need a mate that's a great DOP, and now I need these lights, and I need to cut it properly. And you don't. This is enough. And you can also make money from that. I mean, you can, even in recent years, movies like Tangerine, that was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, but you need a great director.
This is it.
The whole movie is shot, I think, like a magic hour. If you see, I think.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. You need a great director.
You need a great director
You still
and a great
need to tell
story.
a story.
That's it.
Exactly.
Great director and a great story and a great DP. And the right people to play the characters.
Exactly. But to me, you don't need money for any of those.
No, I know. But the thing is that after, when it's finished, how are you going to distribute it? That's the problem. Because you still need money. Somebody that puts it out. Otherwise, then go renegade and then put it on the pirate side. If you don't have a system behind you like Sean Baker.
Yeah. Do you think as well, though, that if you build it, they will come, in the sense that you can all stick it on YouTube, you can stick it on Instagram, you can get a fan following, you put it out there in the world, messages do spread, and you could argue that nowadays we've got access to our own distribution models where we don't need sales agents, we don't need middlemen just taking money and rinsing it.
Yeah, there you go. And hopefully...
I think we've just done it.
Yeah, that's it. We're like scientists. We found the cure for this
Yeah.
illness of creativity.
Do you feel that with all of this kind of waiting around, do you think we've lost a key part in the last 15, 20 years of stories that should have been told, and perhaps people waiting too long for permission? Do you think there is a right time to make a film? Do you think we should just do it?
I think we should do it, but I think we shouldn't conform. I think people are hungry. At least I am. I cannot talk for other people, but I am hungry to see real stories. Like I don't want to be nostalgic, but I miss the kind of extreme cinema of the 80s and 90s. I really do. And thinking that films like that could never be made nowadays makes me angry and makes me want to do possibly the most extreme film I've ever made.
Who'd like to see that?
Not everyone. Yeah.
Get out. I mean, that's great. And nostalgia is a key part, and it's something I always battle with in my head as well, and it's something that I mentioned in that article in the column. For me, actually, after thinking about it, it wasn't about nostalgia. It's something deeper than that. It's concern that you don't miss what you don't know. And what I'm concerned about now, there will be generations of people that don't know what they're missing. And that's worrying. That's a concern. And that's when we lose a little bit of voice.
Mm. And I worry for it's such a a cliche, but evident that unfortunately these kids, with the phone and this instant gratification of the attention span of a red fish. You know that a red fish or a goldfish, it has more attention span than us nowadays. It's true. It's been studied because of the phone, and we cannot concentrate for longer than I don't know how many seconds.
Well, I'm checking my Instagram as you talk.
Fuck. You're a bad example. Weird.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to look into that. There's probably a film in that. Asia's Goldfish Studies. Goldfish Studies. Would you think it's fair to say, do you feel that the industry still pretends to support diversity and risk takers? Do you think it's a box they have to take, or do you think they actually do
the
support?
cancel culture and everything that's in America, it's really, like, if you look at it, what they're trying to do to art and to artists. It started off with, I don't know, with Me Too and oh, we're gonna be equal and free. And no, and I think the evil powers use that to actually mute even more, and with the bigotry that's embedded in the American genetic code. They were the founders, the evangelists, these kind of really scary people, and it's showing nowadays. With this, if you're different, they'll find something in order to cancel you, and because they don't want to look at you, that like the monster, like you put it away. The monster, that the freak, the one that's not like the others. So, and these movies are so boring nowadays.